My name is Takenouchi. I'm a freelance journalist and I'm a single mother with a 4-year-old boy. Today I'd like to talk about the issue of nuclear power plants and earthquake in Japan. Before that, let me tell you my blog, the title of my blogs. This is my bilingual blog, Save Kids Japan. And this focuses on health hazards already emerging after Fukushima nuclear accident. And aside from this one, I wrote some other blogs, and like the second one is Open Question by Takenouchi. This is toward the scholars or media people. And the next one is Takenouchi File. And in the third one, I wrote a lot about the nuclear issue. But actually, I didn't have enough time to translate. But someday I think I will. But this is the this is the third one, and the fourth one is shady people in pro and anti-nuke societies. And I think the fourth one is quite interesting because one of the page shows about the list of CIA people in Japan, and that was quite popular, and I think 10,000 or 20,000 people made an access to that page. So please remember the fourth one as well. Okay, so next. The other day I was really surprised that to see Japan's basic energy plan released from the government. In there, I picked up some phrases, and let me read. Nuclear adds stable and cheap base load supply. I just couldn't understand the meaning of stable and also cheap after Fukushima accident. And as you know, nuclear power becomes quite unstable if you raise the load or decrease the load. So once it gets operated, we cannot control the output so often. So naturally it becomes base load supply. But so it was really a funny expression, I thought. And the second point was promote nuclear for stable electricity supply and for domestic energy sufficiency. Seems like the government considers nuclear power as domestic energy. I want to ask them where does uranium come from. And the third point, promote Rokkasho reprocessing plant, MOX plant, and MOX fuel. And let me tell you about the danger of Rokkasho reprocessing plant. And as for MOX fuel, Fukushima Daiichi number 3 reactor was MOX fuel, and you saw the very big explosion from the number 3. And MOX fuel has less safety margin compared to regular fuel, so I think this is quite dangerous as well. And the fourth point, goodbye to safety myth and get ready for possible catastrophic accident. In Japan, I think we cannot get ready for another possible catastrophic accident. Even only with Fukushima, so many percent of the land became quite contaminated, and I think we cannot afford any more accidents in a country like Japan. Our country is not like the US or the Soviet Union. Our country is relatively small, and I wonder why somebody can come up with this idea. We cannot allow any more catastrophic accident. And the last point, many more construction of NPP is expected, especially in Asia. I'm really worrying about this point as well, because the current government is trying to export nuclear power plants to overseas because the demand within Japan is getting less naturally after Fukushima accident. So they are trying to make money by selling nuclear power to of seeds, and it is quite a dangerous technology, and I really cannot tolerate that they are doing this for the profit, for their own profit. So let me tell you one important thing after the Fukushima accident. Actually, the government of Japan is stressing that the tsunami caused the nuclear accident. But in fact, there are some testimonies released only last year from nuclear workers like this. Okay, one worker's testimony. This place is no good anymore. The pipes are all messed up. It was before tsunami had come. The workers started to run away from the plants. This was covered by Asahi newspaper, July 19th, 2013. And second testimony. At the time of the earthquake, countless number of pipes and trays fell off from the ceiling, one after another. It was like a miracle I didn't get caught under them. It is impossible that the plant was safe with such devastation. By Satoshi Kinoshita, who died of cancer with systemic metastasis. Okay, quite regret-free, this nuclear worker, Mr. Kinoshita, died of cancer with systemic metastasis. And this important news was carried only in Kobe newspaper, September 11, 2013. So I was asked by many foreigners why Japan, the victim of atomic bombs, introduced so many nuclear power plants in Japan. And actually, here is the answer. In 1954, right after the Bikini nuclear test incident, nuclear budget was submitted by former Prime Minister Yasuhiro Nakasone. And before this year, in 1953, he went to the U.S. and he was preparing for the introduction of nuclear power as well. And prior to that year, in 1952, Tokyo University rector, Mr. Seiji Kaya, called for the nuclear research. So, with the support of the U.S., Japan was getting ready to introduce nuclear power. And two more most important people here. Matsutaro Shoriki. He is called the father of nuke in Japan. But actually, he was a former CIA agent. And his code name is already known. He was called Podam by CIA. He was an agent. And he was also a former Class A war criminal and president of Yomiuri newspaper and Nippon TV. And he promoted nuclear power so rapidly in Japan. And also, sort of his subordinate, Mr. Hidetoshi Shibata, he was an executive of Nippon TV, and he was consulting with CIA agent from the U.S. and he came up with this idea: poison kills another poison. During the time when people were raising their voice against nuclear tests, Mr. Shibata told a CIA agent that there is this kind of saying in Japan, so now is the time to introduce nuclear power, to let the people focus on the positive aspect of nukes. And the most problematic thing in Japan is that nuke plants were built without sufficient knowledge on earthquakes. Japan is sitting on 4 different plates, and Japan has 20% of world M6 class or above earthquakes. 20%. And area-wise, our land consists only 0.25%. And next one. first nuke plant was introduced in 1956, but plate tectonic theory was proven only in 1967. So our land was actually the land of Earth was originally only one, but it broken up into different continents, and that was plate tectonics. And this basic theory on earthquakes were only found in 1967. But before that, Japan already introduced nuclear power. And in Japan, nuke plants were built in non-active periods. Lots of nuke plants were built in 60s and 70s and 80s. But these are really non-active periods. And since the middle of 1990s, Japan went into active period after Hanshin earthquake, and now we are in great trouble. And also another problematic thing is nuke plants are built in low seismicity areas. Of course, people would build nuke plants not in the seismic areas, but non-seismic area. But that means that area could be hit by earthquake in the near future. So let me show you. So we have 54 nuclear power plants all over, and these are the sites. And these boxes show that earthquakes could be predicted in the near future, so we have to watch. But amazingly, the areas of the nuclear power plants and this special prediction area are almost overlapping. That means we have built nuclear power plants in dangerous zones. And when the first nuclear power plant was imported from the UK, the first one came from UK, other ones came from the USA. Lloyd's insurance company demanded for exemption clause for Japanese nuclear power plants because Japan is a seismic country and also nuclear technology was not sufficient. And I just don't understand the politicians back then. They didn't give up the idea of introducing nuclear power, but instead they came up with the Nuclear Power Accident Compensation Act to avert bankruptcy of electric companies. They were only thinking of protecting electric companies. And to see the estimation of the nuclear accident, Science and Technology Agency in the early 1960s, they came up with a report. And it said if 1/6 size of the 1000 megawatt nuclear power plant gets severe accident, 2.2 times the national budget should be spent for the coverage. And this estimate didn't even include the children's health hazards or genetic effects. And yes, so that was a political decision Japan had made, and now here we are in big trouble. Okay, next one is quakes and nuke plants. I have studied about active faults a little bit, and the problem is the definition of active faults change. Some document says active faults are the ones which have moved since before 2 million years. And then when Japan decided to introduce nuke plants, they changed it to 50,000 years. And now it became 120,000 or 130,000 years. this is quite strange that they have changed the definition of active faults themselves. And the second point is very, very problematic because there are invisible active faults. The best example was 2008 Miyagi-Iwate inland earthquake. Actually, this earthquake is carried in a Guinness Book because of the very big acceleration speed. The maximum acceleration was 4,200 gals, and the vertical acceleration alone was 3,866 gal. And no nuclear power plants would withstand this acceleration. This is almost 4 times of the gravity. And by the way, maximum gal of East Japan was 2,933. But after the Fukushima accident, Oi nuclear power plant was in operation for some time, and its earthquake resistance was only 1,260. So you know that Japanese government would restart nuclear power plant even though the safety is not ensured. We have to really raise our voice against Japanese government who is trying to, restart nuclear power plants, which is not safe at all. And also another concern is that control rod insert failure should be scared most. Actually, I'll explain about this in Chernobyl example. And also, I used to talk with a person called Yoichi Kikuchi. He was a GE employee when the Fukushima 1 was being constructed, and he one day he found the following facts. It said no calculation was done on resonance phenomena. So okay, as you know, GE is the company which made the nuclear power plant, and in the secret facts they confess that the resonance phenomena, the cycle, depending on the cycle of the earthquake wave and the material cycle, depending on the cycles of those, some resonance could occur, but they didn't consider about it, which is quite dangerous. Okay, let me tell you issues of Kashiwazaki-Kariwa nuclear power plant. This is owned by TEPCO, Tokyo Electric Company, and Tokyo Electric Company is trying to restart this plant as well. But some years ago, I have studied about this Kashiwazaki power plant, and I was really surprised because as for Kashiwazaki, there used to be an oil field before the construction of a nuclear power plant, and because of the existence of oil field, they did a very precise excavation study, and they already found active fault in 1930. I have the document here, but never mind. But I have the 1930 document here, but it's gone somewhere. But anyway, it's in Japanese, so. But still, they constructed this nuclear power plant, the world's largest output nuclear power plant, which is quite scary. And besides this, there was a strong opposition from the residents, and the geologist called Mr. Sunao Ogose went to the site before the construction. They went into the underground to see the soil, and they found countless number of small sized faults right under the site. So it is really dangerous area. And in 2007, actually, magnitude 6.8 earthquake occurred, and there were 3,600 failures on nuclear equipment because of that. And there was a 10 centimeter upheaval of the premise on average. But after that, there was IAEA released a report regarding this issue on the site. Then there was a sentence that it is possible that 2-meter ground upheaval, there is a possibility of 2-meter ground upheaval in Kashiwazaki in the future because of the earthquake. But amazingly, Japanese agency, Nuclear Industry Safety Agency, back then, didn't translate this single sentence, the most important sentence. And in 2007, depending on the spot, there was actually a maximum of 60 centimeter upheaval and 160 centimeter depression as well, because there are so many small faults in the site itself. This kind of gaps could occur. And what if this occurred directly underneath the pressure vessel or important piping systems? So next one is Tokai earthquake theory and Hamaoka nuclear power plant. Hamaoka nuclear power plant is located here, and this is located directly above the boundary of two plates here, Filipino plates and Eurasian plates. And as I said, plate tectonic theory was found in 1967, and in the same year Hamaoka nuclear power plant was applied. And a very famous seismologist, Mr. Kiyo Mogi, found out that M8 magnitude 8 Tokai earthquake could occur in that area. That was in 1969. Actually, I once helped translation of his thesis, and yeah, I know Mr. Mogi, and he is really concerned about Hamaoka nuclear power plants. And Hamaoka installation was admitted in 1970, but the government didn't consider this magnitude 8 Tokai earthquake theory at all. And if we look at the documents from the government side, like in the case of Kashiwazaki, there are 8-shaped faults in the premise as well. So it is again quite dangerous. There are some faults in the premise, and about 20 kilometers down the site, there is a boundary of the plates. It's the boundary of the plates, much larger scale of active faults. And I visited Hamaoka several times, and when I checked the soil there, it was like sand soil, and it's not so solid. And actually in 2002, I visited IAEA by myself, talking about this Hamaoka issue and Japan's nuclear power and earthquake issue, asking them to to please give the Japanese government a recommendation not to operate nuclear power in Japan because we are seismic countries, and probably nuclear industry will be in trouble if you let Japan keep operating nuclear power plants, because there could be an accident in the future. And now we had one, and yeah, I'm really sad. Okay, so let me explain another nuclear power plant. Here is Ikata nuclear power plant. Actually, it's not written here, but there is a world number 2 active fault going across this area. and this stretch is more than 1,000 kilometers. And the government of Japan admitted that this world number 2 active fault is located only 5 or 8 kilometers away from the plant. But still, they gave go sign for the operation of this Ikata nuclear power plant. And according to the fisherman, the local fisherman, not only that, there is a seafloor ditch only 100 or 150 meters away from the water intake of the number 1 reactor. This is quite dangerous. This ditch should be connected to this gigantic active fault, and when the earthquake happens, it could be a disaster. And in 1996, a very important news came out. Actually, this Shikoku Electric Company falsified the data. They gave the data so that the no faults could be seen on the trench. And actually, this was discovered by Professor Makoto Okamura from Kochi University, and he found this out. And after that, a boring search was conducted, and 6,000, 4,000, 2,000 years old layers were found to be cut. And we are around the 2,000th year. So, big earthquake occurred 6,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, by looking at the soil. And we are around the 2,000th year. So we can have another big earthquake at any time. So we really shouldn't restart Ikata nuclear power plant, but recently I heard some news that Ikata is getting ready for restarting. And not only the accident factor, but also I recently found out, I was told by some activists in Hiroshima, because Hiroshima is on the opposite side of Ikata, and they found out that the tritium release is enormous from Ikata nuclear power plant. It's 53 trillion becquerel per year. And a pressurized water reactor usually emits more tritium compared to boiling water reactor. And Genkai in Kyushu, Genkai is this one. This is Kyushu. This is Shikoku. And Genkai is getting ready as well. And Genkai is releasing tritium 100 trillion becquerel per year. And actually, in this Genkai town, leukemia rate is now 6-fold compared to national average. Now, let me talk about the Rokkasho reprocessing plant. It's here. And it is amazing that station blackout occurred on March 11th and 14th and April 7th in 2011. And how much radiation is stored in here? You'll be very surprised. 10 times of Fukushima number 4 spent fuel is stored. Number 4 reactor has 1,535 spent fuel rods, and now they are transferring the fuel rods in more safe areas. But Rokkasho reprocessing plant has already 10 times of this amount. And not only the spent fuel, they have high-level radioactive liquid of 240 cubic meters. And this radiation-wise, this is equivalent to 60 times of Fukushima release from the accident, which is so scary. And also, from the geologist, I got this material from the geologist, Mr. Ogose, the geologist I respect most. I got this material, and this is actually not from the citizen side, but actually this is from the JNFL company side. Before constructing the reprocessing plant, of course, they make lots of researches, geology-wise as well. And this is their document, which was released before the construction. There are only 3 copies of this document. And okay, so this is a map from the above. There are lots of facilities in the reprocessing plant, and amazingly, there are 2 faults. One is called F1 and the other one is called F2. And this is F2 and this is F1, and this is this F2 fault is going near the vitrified glass facility. And I have the cross-section map as well. This is a vitrified glass facility, and this is a cross-section. Underneath the ground, it cuts the soil directly underneath the vitrified ground. This is so scary. I wonder why they went ahead and construct this very, very dangerous site, very, very dangerous facility. And there was some seismology experts. There were, of course, opposition from the resident side, but the seismology experts tried to suppress their opposition. And finally it was constructed, and it's really scary. Even in a regular operation, this Rokkasho reprocessing plant releases half of radiation release which came from the Fukushima accident. And there is actually another reprocessing plant in Japan, which is only 100 kilometers away from Tokyo. It's located in Ibaraki Prefecture. It's called Tokai Reprocessing Plant. And I was very surprised to find out that the high-level radioactive waste liquid is more in this facility compared to Rokkasho facility, 394 square meters. This is 98 times of Fukushima accident release. Isn't this scary? Okay, let me talk about tsunami. Probably most people don't know about this episode, so I'll tell you. In 2006, Member of Parliament, Mr. Yoshii, Mr. Hidekatsu Yoshii, asked the then Prime Minister Abe, isn't there any possibility of station blackout in nuclear power plants due to tsunami? This critical question was asked toward Prime Minister Abe, and he said there is no possibility. And I wonder why nobody is talking about this very important episode now. Now, Prime Minister Abe, in spite of the accident in Fukushima, he is trying to restart nuclear power plants all over Japan, and he is emphasizing the importance of exporting nuclear power plants. And they have, he has gone to Turkey or India or Vietnam, whichever countries they want to sell nuclear power. And yeah, I think we should point this out. And the second point, in East Japan Great Earthquake, the maximum water runoff height was 38.9 meter, and wave height was 21.1 meter. But the height of the newly built breakwater is only 18 meter at Hamaoka nuclear power plant. Once again, Hamaoka is built on the boundary of the plates. And Oi nuclear power plant, which was operated for a short time after Fukushima accident, we were really surprised and lots of people were against it, but the government did it anyway. had only 8-meter breakwater. Originally, the breakwater's height was 5 meters, and they only put additional 3 meters. And then they restarted the plant. But, okay, so this is the Pacific Ocean, and this is the Sea of Japan. And some people say that the Sea of Japan doesn't have big tsunami, but this is not true. I made a research on the tsunami in the Sea of Japan. Then, actually, only quite recently, in 1983, the max of 40-meter tsunami came on the side of Japan Sea. And in 8th century, 40-meter tsunami came at Wakasa Bay. Okay, this is really, really scary. Wakasa Bay is here. There are 15 nuclear power plants in this area. And in the 8th century, 40-meter tsunami came. And there is a remain of tsunami on the height of 37 meters. I really don't know what we should do. I want to emphasize that the spent fuel rods should be carried to safer areas. And yeah, it's really scary. And Osaka and Kyoto are around here. They are pretty close. So this Chernobyl earthquake theory is very important, I think, worldwide, not only Japan. Because in 1990, earthquake on the day of Chernobyl was revealed for the first time. Until then, it was being a secret. But around that area, there are some active faults, and a minor earthquake occurred directly underneath the power plant. And okay, chronologically, let me explain. In 1986, on April 26, 1:23 minutes, 35 seconds, earthquake occurred. And then 1:23:40, the operator pressed control rod insert button. Then, only after 2 or 3 seconds later, control rods got suspended. And 1:23:49 to 59, massive explosion occurred due to nuclear runaway. So, after the earthquake occurred, only a dozen seconds took place before the explosion. And 1:39 to 1:40, the second explosion occurred. But in 1986 July, KGB sent out secret order not to reveal the cause of the accident. And in 1988, former Soviet Union stopped plans and construction of nuclear power plants due to possible earthquakes. And as I said, in 1990, for the first time, earthquake on the day of Chernobyl was revealed. And in 1995, Russia Science Academy and Ukraine National Science Academy concluded earthquake was the cause. And in 1997, Danish National TV broadcasted a documentary film called The Secret Factor. And yeah, this was this Chernobyl earthquake documentary. And this was also broadcasted by NHK in 1997. And actually, I have this thesis by Russia Science Academy. And actually, there is a stamp here. This was forwarded to Science and Technology Agency in Japan, but they totally ignored about the theory. How scary. And now, Japanese government, this is the final page. Now the Japanese government is eyeing on restarting pressurized water reactor because Fukushima was boiling water reactor, and probably they are trying to restart PWR instead of BWR faster than before BWR. But recently I found out that PWR is also quite dangerous. Like, for example, 3 Mile Island was a 3 Mile Island reactor was PWR, had meltdown after hydrogen explosion without station blackout. And yeah, according to an expert I know, he said PWR has explosion more easy than BWR. And in BWR, nitrogen is filled, but in PWR, only the air is filled. And PWR has 150 atmosphere in pressure vessel, while BWR has 70 atmosphere. And in case of pipe rupture due to an earthquake, progress of the accident goes faster in PWR. And also there are many more and complicated pipes compared to BWR in PWR. Thus, PWR are less vulnerable to aging. And the Achilles heel for PWR is steam generator with many thin pipes. Actually, in Japan, in Mihama, Mihama is located in the Wakasa Bay, this area, had a steam generator accident in 1991. And according to a piping system expert, if we were late for countermeasures 0.7 seconds later, it became like a Chernobyl, he said. And in 2004, explosion of secondary piping system occurred, and 5 people were dead because of the hot steam. And this accident was also reported to be near meltdown. So this is it. And as I said, the Japanese government released the basic energy plan quite recently, and in there they are still promoting nuclear power, and they are trying to restart the nuclear power as early as possible, and they are also promoting very, very dangerous reprocessing plant. And this is a reality in Japan. And this issue is not only for the people of Japan, but people in Asia and people for all over the world, and people for the coming generations. I really ask you to share this information as widely as possible, and let's try to avert a possible catastrophe in the near future. I really think nuclear power issue should be tackled by everybody on Earth, because it is the matter for the lives of ourselves and for our future. Let's protect our lives and future lives. Thank you very much.